They'll catch you all.
You'll get caught. Her voice scared me. I sat at the bar and drank, doing the usual preparations for a Friday night out with the girls. There were 5 of us that night. There was a 6th, but she had already found who she was looking for before we even got to the club, a tall, blonde stallion who exuded sex appeal. We all knew we wouldn't see her until Monday morning at the office. Turning slightly to my left, I saw an attractive and well-dressed older woman. The word elegant immediately came to mind. Her black dress was sexy but not luscious, the jewelry expensive but not flashy. Her blonde hair was styled to match her face and age, an attractive elven cut that made her look younger. Truthfully, I had a hard time determining her age. It didn't look like she was doing anything to herself, but the wrinkles of laughter on her face were one of the few signs of a life lived. I hoped I'd look at least half as good at her age, and I very likely assumed she was somewhere around 50. What I couldn't figure out was what the hell she wanted from me. "Excuse me?" I didn't try to hide the irritation in my voice. I said, "You'll get caught. I've been watching your friends since they walked through the door, getting ready for the big night." "Yeah, wait, what? Watching us? And why? And who are you anyway?" She snickered. "My name is Amanda, and you know exactly what I mean. Are you and your friends going to go clubbing, I guess? And you're all here to have a little drink for courage first. I'm right so far, huh? What's your name, darling?" "Aaron." "And yes. What are you supposed to be, some kind of psychic?" Amanda laughed, a pleasant, albeit slightly arrogant laugh. "No, not at all. Just someone who's already been where you are or something." The bartender placed my drink in front of me. I tipped him generously, like I always did on nights like this. He was going to have to put up with women like my friends all night, and he deserved it. I looked at Amanda, taking a sip. Although I was already leaning towards going back to my girlfriends, this was one of the most interesting conversations I'd had in a while. It was far more interesting than listening to Darlene and Cindy try to outdo each other. "Oh? And where is that?" She smiled, but the smile was more predatory than friendly. "You're planning to cheat on your husband!" I hissed. "No, How dare you? I love my husband." My smile became a little sadder and my tone a little calmer. "I'm not judging you, Aaron. I'm trying to help. And I didn't say you didn't love your husband. I believe you. I did too. But I cheated on him anyway." "Well, I'm not going to cheat on mine." "Yeah, you don't even know me. You don't know any of us." I started to move, but Amanda put her hand on my wrist. She didn't grab me, though, just touched me lightly. "Please, please, stop. Just listen. When your group arrived, there were 6 of you. The one with the ring had already left with the guy to the screams and applause of the rest of your group. 2 of the remaining girls, including you, are also wearing rings. 3 don't. If you guess, one of them is married and just took the ring off, and 1 or 2 others are divorced." I stopped right there. Who are you? A detective? Are you following us? Who the hell are you?" "No, I'm just a woman, like I said, who's been where you are now. I had friends like you once, and I've seen groups like yours dozens of times over the years. Perhaps you haven't changed yet. In fact, I'd bet you haven't yet. There is—" She waved her free hand. "Clues. The way you keep looking at your ring. The look on your face when your married friends talk. From the way they talk boisterously, I'm guessing it's about how they plan to hook up, or how hubby will never find out about it." I turned away, feeling uncomfortable. "Like I said, honey, I'm not judging. Not that I am." Without turning around, I asked, "Not that? What does that mean?" "Everyone cheats for a reason. Some are good and some are bad, but at this point it can be hard to know which one is which." She moved slightly so that she was completely in my field of vision. "I'm trying to help you, Aaron." With a snort, I asked, "Help me how exactly? Tell me not to cheat?" Darlene says, "Your married friend, the slutty cheater?" "Yeah. She says it hasn't hurt her marriage at all. What he doesn't know won't hurt him, and—" I was interrupted by Amanda's loud, condescending laugh. "Oh no, my dear, that's certainly true. But I guarantee you her husband will find out. Your divorced friend? What's her name?" "Found out, didn't he?" "Cindy." I said it quietly, but then I realized. But she knows exactly how screwed up she is. She says that she knows what she did wrong, and she can make sure none of you get caught. And anyway, it ended well for her, right? I stared at her in silence. Like I said, Aaron, I've seen a lot of groups like yours. And while I haven't always seen the consequences, I know that what they do, and what they intend to make you do, will end with one of your group getting caught. And after that, it will end with all of you getting caught. 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead, and there are 6 of you. And that's not even counting the fact that one of them is hoping you fall so your husband will fall with you, and then she can pick him up again. Or maybe he's already cheating on you, and this is revenge. I roared. Stan is not like that, she asked in a calm voice. Are you? Yeah, I'm not. Her hand gently squeezed my wrist. People cheat for all kinds of reasons, Aaron. Out of boredom or anger or revenge or unhappiness. Because they want out. Because they want to get caught. Because they think they need a thrill. Why are you planning to? I'm not planning, Amanda shook her head. How long before you have to go with your girlfriends to the dance, I guess? Well, maybe an hour. And have you cheated on your husband yet? I looked at my feet. Yeah, no. Danced a little too close when I got drunk. Let one of them kiss me. I got groped, but I stopped him. But no more than that. Her finger touched my chin and lifted it up. But you were going out tonight. Maybe. That's all. Darlene and Cindy talk about it so innocuously, like it's just another... Like it has nothing to do with him and me, like going to the spa or the gym. Only he won't realize it because of his ego. What if... Amanda finished her sentence with a sigh. If he really loves you, he'll let you do it. Shaking her head, she said, Idiots. Hey, not you, Aaron. Well, maybe. But at least you're not an idiot like them. You haven't done anything irreversible yet. There's still time for you. Laughing, I said, Oh, so a repentant cheater is trying to keep me from breaking my vows? You broke yours and it ruined your marriage, so now you're helping young women not to fall like you did? The smirk on Amanda's face seemed almost demonic in its glee. Oh no, by no means, I mean maybe, but I've cheated on my husband hundreds of times in 23 years of marriage. I'd probably still be cheating on him now if my beloved Donald hadn't passed away. And not once have I been caught. And here's how I'm going to help you, Aaron. If you want to cheat, I'll teach you everything I can. And if you follow in my footsteps, you'll never get caught. Unless it's by sheer bad luck. What? Amanda grabbed her purse from the stool beside her. There's a late-night diner across the street. I want to grab a coffee and maybe a light snack. If you join me, after you tell your friends you'll be back in about an hour, I'll tell you my story. From it, you'll learn everything you need to successfully run as many romances as you want. Are you serious? Oh, quite. A magician never reveals his tricks, but perhaps it's time I took on an apprentice. She saw that I was still hesitating. Look, I'm not asking you to get in the car with me. We'll go to a public place, have coffee, eat fries, which I'll pay for, and talk. Then when we're done, you can do whatever you want with what you learn. Worst case scenario, you can tell your friends about the crazy broad you met tonight. She said the last one with a self-deprecating grin. Amanda turned to leave. I'm going in there anyway. It's crowded this early, and your friend's out with the only guy I've got my eye on. If you come, great. If not, well, I guess I'll just have to spend a little more time climbing the stairs because I'm going to finish this basket of potatoes. And with that, she was gone. What the hell just happened? On the one hand, she's right. Everything the girls did was risky. Even I can see that. It probably takes someone who actually knows what they're doing to make me listen to what I've already told myself. I wasn't even sure I wanted to change. My behavior the last couple of weeks says otherwise. I do love Stan very much. My growing desire to sleep with other guys doesn't change that. At least not for me. After all, I'm sure he fantasizes about other women too, and it doesn't get any farther than fantasizing about me. At least that's what Darlene, Cindy, and others had told me, although deep down I knew I'd be mad as hell if I caught Stan doing the same thing with another woman that I was doing. But if I decided to pull the trigger, why wouldn't I want to get good at it? If Amanda was telling the truth and had gotten away with it for 2 decades and hundreds of guys, and her husband had no idea about it, why wouldn't I want to hear what she had to say? And if she lied, like she said, it would make a funny story afterward. I told the girls that I wanted to get some fresh air before we hit the road and that I would be back soon. They were already intoxicated, so Darlene just yelled, "You better get back before we leave without you and take the best of it." Then they went back to the group game of marry, sleep with, kill, this time about the guys in the office. Yeah, I definitely need to get a different perspective before one of these idiots gets me fired and also divorced. The diner was the kind of place that just said diner in big neon letters above the entrance, with no name. It could have been built at any time since the 40s, and its furnishings reflected that. It had a strange, timeless atmosphere about it. Everything, tables, chairs, bar stools, and the like, seemed cheap, but also pretty damn sturdy. After a night of dancing, the girls and I found ourselves here more than once. The ones who hadn't gotten laid, that is. The food wasn't great, but it was cheap, greasy, and plentiful. When I walked in, Amanda was staring off into the distance with her hands around her mug. When I approached the table, she broke from her reverie and smiled broadly. "Hi, I didn't know if you were coming or not. I'm glad you came." I sank into the chair in the stall across from her. Maybe I should get my head examined, but I think it should be more interesting than listening to Darlene and the girls screw themselves over for the rest of the evening. She laughed. "I don't think that's a very high bar." I shrugged. "And that's true. But if you can tell me what you say you can—" The older woman nodded, perhaps with some wistfulness. "I can, but I'm sorry, could you tell me about yourself first? Not your whole life story, but what you do for a living, how long you've been married, that sort of thing. I want to make sure that what I can tell you. Well, I think it's interesting, but I want to make sure it's good for you. I don't want to waste your time or mine." "Okay. Uh-huh. I'm 27. I met my husband at the end of my junior year of college. I majored in history, but then decided I didn't want to teach, so now I'm an administrative assistant. Stan and I started dating exclusively at the beginning of senior year. We've been married for a little over 5 years now." "Is it a happy marriage? Overall, I mean?" I nodded slowly. Yes, I'd say it is. I don't have any complaints. He makes me happy, for the most part. I mean, I wish he'd clean up after his socks instead of throwing them on the bed at night, and he wishes I'd stop watching so many reality shows." Amanda chuckled. "Fair enough. And what about the sex life?" I felt myself blushing slightly. She's good." "Good?" She raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, great most of the time. Although not as good as it was in the beginning. You know how it is. In the beginning, it's a rush. Now we're kind of getting into married life. We're talking about kids. But he's still—" I chuckled. "He's still more than gets the job done. And he tells me I'm the best he's ever had, which is nice." "Isn't it? And he's the best you've ever had, I think." Sort of now, yeah. Or I think even 2 or 3 years ago, he was the best. I had more experience than he did, and I had to teach him what I liked. But he learned it well. When he got to that point, yeah. But like I said, things have gotten a little lately. Unfresh? There's that damn raised eyebrow again. No, I wouldn't go that far. I looked for a minute for the right word. Then I found it. Convenient, I guess. I love him, and it's still good. But I can't remember the last time we did anything new in bed. Amanda nodded wearily. "Okay, no particular complaints, happy marriage, wish the love was better. So why are you thinking about cheating on Stan?" No. Luckily, before I could answer, the waitress brought fries and poured me a cup of coffee. I used the time to think about how to phrase my answer. I hadn't come here for her to fry me, but for her to tell me everything. "No, I mean, yes, I'm tempted, but never. I don't want to cheat on him. I don't go out with them thinking I'll find a guy and sleep with him tonight. I just miss the excitement." A fry went into my mouth, followed hastily by water when I realized it was too hot. "How's the single life?" She took a sip of coffee, a pale outline of lipstick left on the rim of the cup. I swiped my mouth with the palm of my hand. "Yeah, I guess about being free and desirable. Not that I wanted to cheat on Stan, but when we started talking about kids and buying a house and—" I sighed. I just wondered if I'd gotten married too soon. If I shouldn't have played in the field a little longer. To see if there was someone better out there? No! I deftly dragged the next potato through the ketchup and let it cool this time. No, I love him. I really do. He's such a good guy, and I want to spend the rest of my life with him, and I sure as hell don't want to hurt him. But I don't know, I just feel like... I chewed on my ketchup-soaked fries, thinking. Amanda stared at me expectantly until I finished. I wish there was some way to put a stop to my marriage and get back to it, you know. Not to hurt Stan and not... If I could do it without cheating, that would be perfect. That's what I was doing, at least a little bit. But, I shrugged. Her intense gaze cut through all my ramblings. But the temptation to cheat is getting stronger, especially considering the company you're in? Yes. I hate to say it, but yes. I don't want to, but I know. I know I'm still desirable. There are plenty of opportunities to go further with the guys at the club, but I didn't. My gaze moved to my hands. And I like that feeling of being desirable, so I go back. But I worry that at the end of the day, eventually being desirable won't be enough. She smiled affectionately and put her hand on mine. I understand. Believe me, I understand everything. And I think I can help you. I raised my head again. Change? I don't know. Amanda patted my hand and removed hers again, leaning back in her cubicle. You don't have to. I'll tell you my story. I'll tell you why I did it and how I got away with it. And if you want details, I'll stay here and talk to you for as long as you want. It's so rare for me to tell someone my secrets, and you seem like the perfect candidate. She laughed when she saw the look on my face. I'm not saying you'll cheat, or that you have the mark of the beast on you, or whatever it is you're afraid of. She took a bite of her fries and spoke with it in her mouth. How the hell does she manage to speak with her mouth full so elegantly? You're young, beautiful, and smart enough to realize that what you're doing right now isn't working. By that, I mean what's going on in your marriage and in your friendship with Darlene, right? And Cindy? I nodded. You have a longing that you can't define, and it's taking you in a direction you may or may not want to go. Amanda sighed a little sadly. Honestly, you don't have kids, and your marriage doesn't last that long. You have more opportunity to change course than you realize. I don't mean to sound gloomy, but getting out of a marriage is an opportunity that, well, I didn't have the guts for that one. Another bite and a brighter disposition. But let's not worry about that for now. Still want to hear my story? I nodded. It wouldn't hurt to listen, would it? Yes. Yes, I do. The old woman gave me a radiant smile. I had no doubt I was in for a story. Then I'll start from the beginning. Well, perhaps a little later. You needn't hear about my early days, except to say that my home life was very ordinary. Average in almost every way. Middle class, average America, average happiness. If my parents could have had 2.5 kids, they probably would have. But I was no average girl. I grew from a goofy, big-headed kid into a clumsy, ugly duckling. I was always smart, though. Too smart for my own good. I was a well-read and sharp-tongued little girl. Then, senior year of high school, I changed. An ugly duckling turned into a swan. And it wasn't just my looks, although puberty had finally given me a bounty of gifts. No, it was intelligence that allowed me to truly blossom. An expensive gift is just a nice thing without proper wrapping. But properly wrapped, presented with only tantalizing and enticing glimmers that hint at what's inside, that's where desire comes into play. Think about it. At Christmas, a child opens their presents, plays with the toys for a few hours, maybe a day or two, and then puts them aside. And during the month, while those are under the tree, how often do they shake them, poke them with a finger, try to guess by size, shape, and weight what lies inside? A month of delightful anticipation followed by hours of rapturous pleasure. Which of these is more interesting in hindsight? I nodded again, though admittedly I was a little disappointed so far. So, you figured out how to present yourself. You became beautiful, and then you studied makeup and fashion, right? She laughed. I know it doesn't sound like much, but you have to understand. Yeah, let me ask you, have you always been the gorgeous young woman that's sitting across from me now? I'm blushing. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I've never been ugly. I guess I went through a bit of an awkward period. but you don't know what it's like to be invisible or even repulsive to your peers, and then suddenly become an object of desire for one half and contempt for the other. No, not that. Amanda sent a fry into her mouth, apparently enjoying the flavor as much as the story. I had, and that's when I found my first and longest love, being wanted. For me, that's what it's always been, this impulse to be desired. Love is fun, but it's like opening a gift at Christmas, the culmination of experiences, a burst of joy that justifies the longing. I took a sip of water. Okay, yes, I understand that, but it doesn't explain. Hold your horses, student. I'm just setting the stage, she giggled, creating desire, if you will. So I started dating my senior year of high school, lost my virginity at prom, after half a dozen of the most attractive guys in the school asked me to go to it, and then headed off to college. It was there that I tried being monogamous for the first time, and failed miserably. Amanda sighed. The energy that had animated her seemed to dissipate as the breath left her lips. Then I have offended some good young men, and ruined my reputation. There was one boy who I knew loved me very much, and I loved him too. I really did. But She sipped her Coke, seemingly immersed in thought. It was the first time I'd seen her showman's mask come off that night. The love of my life was my husband, but I think he could have been Jeremy if I hadn't treated him so cruelly. I didn't even... The older woman grinned bitterly. I wasn't good at cheating then. Or rather, I was not good at all. Jeremy didn't catch me, and he didn't need to. He just needed to not be completely blind, and he wasn't. So why did you cheat on him? Amanda stared at the table. That's the question, isn't it? Why did I cheat on him and my husband and all the other wonderful men in between? When she looked up at me again, there was pain behind her eyes and in the strained smile on her lips. Because I'm an addict. Amanda sighed. I'm getting ahead of myself. Taking a deep breath, she continued. Addiction is that you don't want to believe it's an addiction. No one wants to. Whether it's booze, food, heroin, or gambling. The excuses are different, but they are each other's cousins. The just one drink excuse is very close to the all I did was dance with him excuse. A person who is not an addict can have a beer or dance a little too close, and that's the end of it, at least if nothing else happens. But for an addict, that means the person opens themselves up to disaster. And then, when disaster strikes, we resort to rationalization. I had a rough day, so I drank a bottle of vodka. It's my birthday, so I can eat as much cake as I want. Amanda's face contorted into a grimace. Our relationship should have ended by now. I just haven't told him that yet. All ways to justify excesses we don't want to recognize as excesses. She smiled radiantly, returning to center stage. Back then, I didn't know it was an addiction yet. Thought I was just a slut. Flitting between intentional loneliness and certainty, absolute certainty that this time would be different, that this time I'd found the perfect guy and what came before was stupid college student crap. Eventually, I stopped pretending and decided that I was inherently spoiled, though I hadn't yet realized it was an addiction, and decided I was going to stay single. It went on like that until I turned 28. Amanda's smile then was in no way ostentatious. It was blissful, loving. Her eyes seemed to sparkle as she spoke. Then I met Donald. I worked as a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company. I still am, for that matter. He was a doctor. God, that man was amazing. It wasn't even about how handsome he was, and he was gorgeous. It was just him, his presence, the kindness in his voice, the way he held himself, the way he could be effortlessly and simply intelligent and then turn around and tell the silliest joke. He was probably the best lover of my life and pretty much from the beginning. One of the top 10, maybe even top 5 best men of all time. I was blown away in a way I'd never been blown away by even poor Jeremy. I fell in love with him so easily. That's why I kept pushing him away for so long. But he kept chasing me and chasing me and chasing me, and finally he drove me away. But he never stopped pursuing me. Looking back, I think that's why I was able to convince myself that this time it would be okay, that he and I would work out. No man before or since had ever pursued me the way Donald had, and it didn't stop even after we became steady, engaged, or married. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to be pursued by someone else. But you cheated on him. But yes, I cheated on him. She raised her glass, and a waitress came over to refill it. Really, it wasn't until a few years after we were married. He stopped pursuing me the way he used to. I don't blame him, but you can't keep up that intensity forever. And I loved him very much. I tried to hold on as long as I could, but I felt this little itch, right in the back of my head, and I couldn't scratch it. He'd kiss me, ask me out to dinner or to the dance, and it was like... Amanda raised her eyes to the ceiling. Do you know what methadone is? It's for heroin addicts, right? To help them quit. That's right. It's a mild opioid that mimics some of the effects of heroin, but it's not addictive or dangerous. It's effective, but... She grinned. You'd be surprised how many heroin addicts hate it, recovered or not. It's exceptionally close to what their body requires, but it's not enough. Once a person gets off methadone, unless they make other major changes in their life, the likelihood of relapse is pretty high. Some people stay on it for the rest of their lives, switching from one addiction to another. In fact, that's what most recovering addicts do. They replace one habit with another. That's why there are so many avid smokers and coffee drinkers at AA meetings. Even celebrities with all their resources do it. Johnny Cash has immersed himself in religion. Robert Downey Jr. has become a fitness fanatic. Have you ever seen the movie On the Needle? No? It's a great movie. Starring a very young Ewan McGregor. At the very beginning of the movie, he and his friends, all drug addicts in Edinburgh, are playing soccer, whatever, against a group of guys. These guys are all real ex-junkies who helped the writer with his research. After quitting drugs, they turned into soccer fans. It's another obsession, but one that they probably wouldn't die from. I raised my hand. I'm sorry, but where are you going with this? I thought this was about... Amanda made a yeah, I get it motion. It's about how I cheated with impunity. But first, you have to understand why I did it. That will give you information about how I did it. Do you understand? The blank expression on my face showed that I didn't really understand. She sighed. You will understand. So methadone. Donald's caresses after we got married a couple years ago were like methadone to me. They were enough to keep me clean, but nowhere near as much as I wanted. They scratched the itch, but they didn't get rid of it. And they were... God, in some ways, they were far worse. Another deep breath. It was just under 3 years into our marriage when I cheated on him for the first time. I was at a bar in another city visiting an old friend. All of a sudden, I was once again desirable to strangers, free and... She shook her head. And it was like giving a recovering alcoholic a bottle of vodka. I danced, flirting, knowing it was a bad idea. One guy wanted me really badly, just really bad. I could almost smell the odor coming off him. I let him woo me, knowing how dangerous it was, knowing how it could end and hating myself for it. He groped me on the dance floor and I let him. We found a dark corner and he slid his tongue down my throat. And then I went to the bathroom and bought a cheap pack of contraceptives from the vending machine. We snuck through the back door of the club into his apartment, and he took me in just about every way a man can take a woman. The only condition I set, the only concession to loyalty to my husband, was that we had to be separated by rubber. A few hours later, I stumbled back to my hotel room, exhausted, tired, euphoric, and... She frowned and sighed, and feeling worse than ever, worse than ever. Without taking off my dress, I climbed under the shower and cried under the jets of water for probably an hour, wishing I was dead, wanting to die before Donald met me. Amanda sat silent for a while, staring into her cup as if she could find answers there. Without raising her eyes, she continued her story. I thought about telling him everything, but I knew my husband. It would have killed him. He loved me very much, even though I told him about my past. I didn't realize then the depth of my need. I still thought I'd been a bastard when I was young and that I'd finally found a man who would make an honest woman out of me. A good woman. Sad smile. And he did, he really did. Just not good enough. She looked up at me. I drowned Donald in affection when I got back. I always did, though, because I loved him so much. It was easier that way. He didn't suspect a thing, and I did my best not to feel guilty in front of him. After that, I kept my word of honor for a while. Kept it up for a few months, but the itching came back. Eventually, I had to leave for work, and Amanda shrugged. It was nice to believe that I could be a good person, at least for a while, that I'd just made a mistake. It went on like that for most of the rest of my life. I traveled a lot for work, so whenever I got the itch, I'd find someone to sleep with. Never with the same person twice. Indeed, even in the same bar twice if it could be avoided. I always used protection and took every precaution possible to avoid getting caught. And I never got caught. Never? I couldn't hide the doubt in my voice. I'll admit, there were a few times it wasn't easy. In the beginning, I made the mistake of contacting a jerk who tried to take advantage of me when I was talking to my husband. I hung up on him, kicked him out, and then, when I called Donald back, claimed the hotel phone had a bad connection. I never liked it when nasty things were said about him. But from then on, guys who disrespected him were taboo for me. She giggled when she saw the look on my face. More than just disrespect, you know. It's always the disrespect. This I accept. I know he deserves a better wife. I just couldn't give up on him. Amanda looked out the window. I guess I was an addict in a lot of ways. You keep saying you're an addict. Although, to be honest, I struggled to find words that wouldn't make her angry. Sound like a bunch of crap? Yeah, I know. And when it comes to something like that, it often is. When I was trying to get better, in between cheating, I went to a sex addiction group. You know, it's like AA. Only for... She waved her hand. And while I found that I didn't quite fit the criteria, I also found that there were a lot of people there who... Let's just say they were going there because someone had caught them making love to someone they shouldn't have, and sex addiction was an effective evasion for them. But I know I do have an addiction, or compulsion, and I can prove it. In the meantime, let me tell you the rest of my story. She took another bite of fries, then frowned and slid the basket toward me. I should stop now. An unexpected laugh escaped her lips. And that's coming from a drug addict. Amanda leaned forward. Well, I almost got caught once, and then there was the time... She swallowed. And then there was the time some bastard raped me. Oh, God! The older woman shrugged. That was a horrible thing to do, and I'm not excusing the guy. If I saw him today, I'd shoot the bastard. He's the reason I got my concealed carry license, but I'd go to bars, invite strange men to my hotel room, and then tell them that sleeping with me was strictly with protection. Eventually, I came across one who wouldn't go along with it. I reached out to touch her hand. She smiled, then brushed it away from me. It had been a long time ago, before the kids, about 20-odd years ago. I remember being very upset then that I would have to hide all evidence from Donald and keep him at a distance until I passed the test. That's so bad. But my husband, I had thrush until my period came, and by then I had had enough time to get tested for just about everything. He didn't even blink an eye, just wanted to make sure I was okay. There was a small chance that I had contracted one of the diseases with a longer incubation period, but they aren't transmittable until they're active. I just had to keep getting tested like a fucking cheater. But we dodged a bullet. I dodged a bullet. Suddenly a thought popped into my head. You said you had kids? Isn't there a chance? No! Amanda's voice was louder than she apparently intended, and several people looked in our direction. She lowered her voice again. No chance. When we decided to have kids, I refueled during the trip just before we wanted to start. And I quit the pills when we got back. Thank God Donald was so damn manly and it only took us a month each time. She bit her lip. Still, I was worried. Knew that by all calculations the kids, when they were born and all, should be Donald's. But I was paranoid about it. I'd be sure to come clean if one of them wasn't his. I couldn't do otherwise with him. So I arranged to have us all tested as part of a work-related genetic testing program that really had nothing to do with work. Fortunately, the paranoia turned out to be just paranoia, and everything turned out fine. Did you cheat while pregnant? No! The word was said with a touch of artificial mirth. Donald was very protective of me during that time, so it was easier. Not easy, but easier. I was horny as hell, but that's never... Like I said, it's not about love, it's about striving. Love is just the completion. She grinned. Her dreamy, detached smile was clearly brought on by pleasant memories. It was such good times when I was pregnant, and then when the kids were very young. I don't know why, but something about the kids. Maybe it was overwork, or maybe it was the fact that they just needed me all the time. But it was an even stronger substitute than Donald's love. For a while after my oldest was born, I thought that, I don't know, that maybe having something bigger than myself or my marriage would finally fix me. That this was finally what would make me a decent human being. For a while, Amanda stared into her half-empty cup. When she spoke again, her voice cracked slightly. But that turned out not to be the case. She looked up at me, her increasingly insincere smile no longer hiding her pain. As soon as my son started kindergarten, I felt the itch begin to return. And although it went away again after my daughter was born, that's where it ended. For 6 years of our 23-year marriage, I was a faithful wife. And the rest of the time, I was... She shook her head. You said you tried to stop? She nodded, taking a deep breath and trying to pull the mask tighter over her face. Yes, I tried a bunch of ways. Therapy, of course. Sex addiction counseling, religion, athletics. God, I was so wrong. Have you ever seen the way a gym teacher looks at even a moderately attractive woman? I even tried to get fat, hoping that if I was less desirable, I'd be less likely to be chased. I thought maybe it was a supply problem, not a demand problem. But it wasn't. I was simply being chased by less interesting men now, and I was unsatisfied in another way. I snorted, but I couldn't help it. That dash of amusement seemed to lift her spirits. Briefly, about 10 years into my marriage, I decided a few things for myself. First, it is an addiction. Even if there is no corresponding item in the mental disorder, it applies to many disorders for many different reasons. Second, I can't control it, or at least I can't find a way to control it. And third, I need to find a way to keep it from ruining my life. I've started reading a lot about harm reduction as a strategy. That is, not trying to quit drugs, but limiting the impact of addiction. I saw a news article I remembered about a woman who was a successful businesswoman and mother, but had lived with a heroin addiction for over 20 years. She'd managed to manage her cravings, and the only reason she'd been caught was a random drug bust while out with her dealer. She grinned. Not exactly a heroine for the ages, but I figured if she'd dealt with it for decades, so could I. And I did. Donald never found out. I don't think he even suspected. I was exceptionally careful. You had, I don't know, did you have an ending in mind? Like, what if you stayed the same when you retired and couldn't drive as much? Not really. I just kept dancing and hoped the music would never end. I had a remote hope that menopause might change my brain chemistry enough to fix me, but it didn't happen. That's what addiction is, after all. It's just a matter of brain chemistry. There's a reason that for almost all addictions, smoking, heroin, alcohol, whatever, the number of successful quitters is about 5%. It's not that people don't want to quit, it's that they can't. In response to my incredulous look, she raised an eyebrow. You don't believe me? No, it's not that, I just... Amanda nodded toward someone at the other end of the diner and said quietly, That guy over there, he weighs probably 180 pounds, maybe 230. Do you think he wants it? Or what? He doesn't know how to lose weight? I guarantee he knows more about diets than you or I will ever know. And he's eating a piece of pie that I doubt he even likes. He sits alone in a diner, eating something he doesn't even want to eat to deal with a hunger he can't and won't understand. Not the real hunger, not the one generated by starvation, but because some little trickle of molecules in his brain just isn't enough to make him stop. That's what everyone who tries to quit smoking or drinking or stabbing drugs is like. That's me. Or at least it was me. Was? She looked out the window of the diner again, eyes moist. After Donald died, I went completely off the rails for a while. Without him in my life, the itch got much stronger. I hadn't realized how much his love and devotion had helped me to just function like a normal person. Not even a month after his funeral, I was already sitting at the bar waiting to be hit on. And every night for the next 6 months, I brought home someone new. sometimes more than one. But never in our bed. She sobbed and wiped her eyes. That was something I couldn't do. It was still our bed. Even when he was gone, I couldn't do that. I allowed myself to do other things. I stopped taking care of my health like I should have. I started drinking more, being careless about safe love, all such self-destructive behaviors. I wanted to die and be with him again. Eventually, a friend talked me into seeing a doctor. I mean, several. To a therapist, of course, but also to my GP for the sake of an annual checkup. She discovered that I had prediabetes due to being overweight and lack of exercise, prescribed a drug that had been approved by the Food and Drug Administration years before called semaglutide. The brand name is Ozempic. You've heard of it? Yeah, it's an injection, and it causes weight loss, right? Uh-huh. And it's true. I got my weight back under control and out of the diabetes danger zone. She took a sip of her coffee. Oh, and it also cured my addiction? What? Yeah. I didn't realize that at first. I mean, it didn't help right away. It took a few weeks. But even after the first injection, the itching was less. And after the first 2 weeks, it just went away. It just disappeared. I still had needs, sexual needs, but I didn't feel that mindless hunger. The bottomless pit had been filled. At first, I chalked it up to my friend's intervention, her coming to terms with Donald's death, therapy, and all that. But when I finally got a clean bill of health from the doctor and stopped taking the shots, God, she sighed. I went back to being slutty like I'd never been before. And what did you do? I was in pharmaceutical sales, like I said. I know all the tricks to get cheap drugs and easy prescriptions, so I started working on my own again. Barely realized what had happened. And just like before, the itch went away. After a couple of months, I started reading in journals that semaglutide reduced addictive and compulsive behaviors among test groups. Binge drinking, smoking, compulsive overeating, hell, even nail biting. Nail biting, for heaven's sake. Tears glistened on her cheeks. Do you have any idea how much it hurts? My love for my husband wasn't enough. My love for my children almost didn't matter. Hell, even my sense of self-preservation wasn't helping. Nope, it took a weekly dose of medication to make me keep my legs closed. And it was too late for it to matter. My Donald was gone and I would never see him again. I almost threw the damn medicine away. I wanted to die. This time I wanted it badly. Death by debauchery. That would be a hell of a thing to see on a death certificate. She shook her head. But I couldn't do that to my children. They'd already lost one parent, and then my first granddaughter was born. I wasn't the kind of wife my husband deserved, and I had even failed as a parent, but was going to be the best grandmother the world had ever seen. I laughed, and so did she, but only for a moment. Then she got deadly serious. That's my whole story. If you want, I can tell you how to cheat on your husband. It's not hard, any idiot can do it. It's not much harder to avoid getting caught, especially if you're only going to do it once. Go somewhere, pick someone up in a bar, just not your hotel bar. Take him to a sleazy hourly motel. If you want to keep it up, get a job that requires traveling. Follow the same rules I just mentioned, but get a second phone. Make sure that one is charged to a separate credit card that your husband will never see. Be prepared to lie to his face. Always, always have a lie ready. Always use protection. Buy a gun like I did, in case some asshole tries to use you. Never trust anyone. Build yourself a second life that isolates you from those you love. Avoid real friendships. Never get drunk if you're not alone because God knows what you might give out. There's a lot more, but you've already figured it out, right? I nodded, feeling slightly nauseous. Yeah. Cheat once, cheat always is half bullshit and half truth. Which one do you think applies to you? Maybe you'll pick up some random stud in a bar and it'll be a fond memory when you're older. Or maybe you'll only do it once. Most who try heroin or cocaine a few times walk away with no problem. But some don't. Do you want to gamble to see which one you are? No. I sighed. What am I supposed to do? I mean, about my girlfriends and Stan and everything? She took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. I can't really tell you. Obviously, something isn't quite right, and you need to work it out with him. Go to counseling, go on a trip, buy whips and chains. I laughed. But whatever you do, throw those fucking girlfriends of yours under the bus, at least for him. How much you tell him is up to you, although I think you should be completely honest, but blame it on them. I guarantee he'd rather blame it on them than believe that you came this close to doing it yourself. And after that, stay away from them. Change jobs if you have to. I nodded. Yeah, okay, you're right, thank you. Chuckles. You're welcome, Aaron, and good luck. Amanda stood up, smiling, and threw a 20 on the table. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going back to the bar to touch up my makeup and see if it's gotten any better since we left. It's been months, and I still have needs. Grinning, she turned and walked out the door, then waved her hand out the window as she passed by. I sat there for a while longer, eating cold fries and thinking, Jesus, how close did I come to being Amanda? I'm not a cheater. I love my husband. What the hell was I thinking? Soon I stood up and almost ran to my car. I needed to get home to my husband and confess everything. My vision blurred with tears as I drove, crying for myself and the wonderful, broken woman who had saved me from myself and the so-called friends who wanted to drag me down with them. At home, Stan got up from his chair when he saw the state I was in. God, how could I ever think of hurting him? About hurting us? He put his arm around me and listened to me babble about what I had done, about what I almost did, and about the older woman who had intervened. His face grew increasingly grim, but when he finally spoke, my husband's first words were, I love you. Thank you for telling me everything. I'm angry, but together we'll get through this. I sobbed in his arms as he carried me to our bed. We lay together as we had when we first fell in love, alternating between tender lovemaking and frantic, desperate rapprochement. I needed him. I needed him more than anything else in the world, and he showed the same passion for me. Never again would I let either of us forget that. Afterward, when the love of my life slept beside me, I lay awake for a long time. I am not a religious person, but that night I needed to believe that Amanda's pain had some reason. I need to thank someone for her voice in the bar that saved my marriage. I prayed silently for her, thanking God for sending her to me. I asked him to watch over her and her family, and at the end I prayed for him to have mercy on her when the time came. May we all receive mercies we don't deserve. I got mine that night. The end!